recording. Slavi, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to share some thoughts about artificial intelligence, enhance learning experience design. A few preliminary words. I'm going to refer to AI tools, which are known as text generation tools like ChatGPT, Bing, or BART, and also some more specialized tools like teacher mentoring tool. Secondly, I'm going to use interchangeably terms like learning experience design, learning design, instructional design. I have my reasons to put learning experience design here in the title, but for convenience, I'm not going to discuss it. Although it's interesting, but it's go beyond the scope of this presentation. And I can't go further. Okay, so the plan for today. Obviously, I'm going to spend most of the time talking about this generative text AI system for learning and instruction. But before that, I would like to discuss briefly this phenomena, which AI text generation tools. So I would like to put this talk in a broader context. And the central idea of the AI system for learning and instruction is crafting or engineering AI educational prompts. In essence, AI prompts for education and instruction actually is learning experience design, learning design, instructional design, the whatever term you use in the world. And it should be also like any learning experience design, it should be theoretically based on advanced theory, and also it should be also research-based. I would like to spend some time discussing research approach, which educational design research, and how artificial intelligence can help in improving. I'll discuss some of the methods there for data collection and analysis, which could be used independently, not only in a discussion like AI tools. And one of these approaches is group concept mapping. And I think it's could be used independently as a group, as a research methods, but also part of the educational design research. And it's based on my experience, I think it's quite powerful tool. So I take the liberty to give you some more information on it. So in the future, if you like to use it, here it's just a general information. But if you need to use it, you can contact me, and you can discuss the way it can be used in your research project. Finally, I'm going to discuss some artificial intelligence tools for research. Again, they could be part of the educational design research, but also can be used independently. What are these artificial intelligence systems? I'm not going in details about technicalities here, although some of the things are really difficult to imagine, like 180 dimensions or 96 hierarchical levels. What is more important here is the final results, and that is user-friendly interface where even people who doesn't have any knowledge about these technical characteristics can easily talk to the software. And in these terms, it marks, I think, a new era in the human-computer interaction paradigm. In 60 years period, it's a new paradigm which is intent-based human-computer interaction, because you simply express our willingness, telling the tool what you want to achieve, which is different than in contrast to the previous human-computer interaction paradigm, which is commands-based paradigm, where you tell the computer how it should perform particular tasks. I would like to elaborate a little bit on this last point, which is, another thing which I think is interesting is how much these new artificial intelligence tools resemble the human thinking. And we could put on the continuum of how much there is a resemblance between the software and the humans. There are two extremes. In one extreme, you see some people who tend to attribute some human qualities to these tools and even emotions. They say the tools can easily pass imitation game Turing test for human thinking. Well, at the other extreme are people who think that these tools actually experience some difficulties to deal with simple, abstract, general intelligence tests, and Noam Chomsky even called them stochastic parrots. Now I'm moving to another characteristics of these tools, which is velocity of the development. So in this slide, you can see, you can compare one of these tools, ChatGPT, to other popular tools in terms of how much it takes to get 1 million users. And this is a similar picture, a similar message suggestion. The same here, the only difference is how much time it takes to get 100 million users, I guess, in contrast to other popular tools. You know this, the Gartner hype cycle. The question is, my expectations are that these generative AI tools will go the same path, but probably faster, more likely faster. What is more important is that I expect that this tool will reach the plateau of productivity, which is to me very important, because I know from experience that most of these tools actually They never, ever arrived in this last point of plateau of productivity. Yes, here I would like to just to mention, to elaborate a little bit on this last point, which is this 66% increase in the business performance of users. We have had some anecdotal evidence in the past suggesting that these tools are quite good in terms of efficiency, so the amount of work they can perform in a given time. But this is the first experimental study which compare 3 case studies, and in all of them there is also a control group. And this is averaged across the 3 case studies as the more cognitive demanding task actually have bigger gains. But this is about efficiency. But there is also evidence that also the quality of work was improved. And probably it's also interesting to mention that in the Future of Job report, the second point here, the hard skills related to machine learning and artificial intelligence are together with soft skills like analytical thinking, evidence-based argumentation, and communication skills. The first reaction after these tools emerged, fear and panic. And it's not only about assessment, which is based on writing assessments like essay. We have some information that it can happen also in other subjects, like mathematics, for example. We know that these general generic text tools are not very good at calculations, but when they're combined with plugins, they become really very powerful. And what would be the reaction to that threat? It seems ignoring or banning is probably the easiest one. The question is whether it's effective. And we know from practice that even if it ignore, there are people who are still going to work it to increase their performances, known as the secret cyborgs. And of course, you can turn the clock back to have written essay or oral exams, which are temporary solutions, but not for a long term. And you know this AI detection software, but immediately appeared AI anti-detection software. And we know that just by simple editing of the prompt, you can trick this AI detection software. And these false positives are quite common, and its most concern is about not native English speaker people. And yeah, instead of focusing on the threat, it's perhaps more productive if we look also at the opportunity these tools create for the learning and instruction, or even transform these threats into opportunities. One thing which is personally appealing to me is that we could evoke some very good and proved to be effective approaches in the past, which because of the lack of technology, appropriate technology for that, or for other reasons, they couldn't show their full potential. But I think now with these tools, we could actually use some of this. And I would mention the individual tutoring at scale. We know the Bloom taxonomies, but the Bloom is also have an approach which is called Two Sigma approach, and I use it. It's very effective, but I use it in a small size classes. It's difficult to apply it at scale. So now having this tool, I think we could apply it in when you have more people. Yeah, this is one way of dealing with these written assessment threats, which is to change the learning objectives, which targeting the low level of learning taxonomies, like understanding, to the higher level, which is investigation, analysis, and interpretation. By the way, here you can use and ask AI tools to help you in transforming these traditional learning objectives into more performance related to inquiry-based learning objectives by explaining to the AI tool what is inquiry-based learning objective, and you give some examples of it. And the next step is to design a project for each of these objectives. And again, you can ask here AI tools to help you to find such a real-life situation. But again, you need to explain what it means, inquiry-based design project, and also give some examples of such real-life situations. And the last step is you create performance assessment for each project. When I look at it, this component, skill, and knowledge and process, I was thinking that probably I would move knowledge in the first place, and then I combine skills and process. I also mix, because we are talking about the competencies. In the competencies, we combine skills, knowledge, skills, and also attitudes. So perhaps we include also the attitudes here. I included these examples as how we can improve the assessment, but it's also a good example for how we can prompt it, artificial intelligence, how we can actually design artificial intelligence prompt. It should include the learning objectives, the learning activities and the sequence of learning activities, and also a relevant assessment for each of these learning objectives, which is, by the way, we call it creative alignments. It's a consistency between learning objectives, learning activities, and assessment. This is an example of, if you want, you can use you can ask, in this particular case, GPT to help you to design a good prompt. And I found useful here that there is a script. For example, first ask me what I want to do, pause and wait for my answer. This kind of things, which I think is it's useful to include in the prompt. This is an example, a template for a prompt. As you see, it consists of providing a role, suggesting a role to the AI to then give some instruction for specific tasks. If you look at the example here, this active learning pedagogy is perhaps too general, so it needs a little bit to be to make it more concrete, to operationalize it to the tool, if you want to be really helpful. And then the instructions, which I call it scripts. This is what ChatGPT created for teachers, and I think it's quite useful because it discuss a lot of examples. And I also put a quote from the guide here, which I think is indicative for what actually teachers can look at it. For example, that this tools is not to replace them, that it's just a tool and it's intended to help them. Don't be afraid to play around with it. Yeah, and try it as much you can. This is another example of a prompt, now more elaborated, and I pick it up specifically prompts for tutoring. So you can see here different components to role and goals, step-by-step instruction, constraints, also pedagogy, and personalization. Personalization here is just on the level of the students, but you can include many other things here if you want. It can be the level of prior knowledge, it can be a learning styles, if you believe it, etc. What you see on the right side is the response of the tool on the prompt we just discussed. On the left side are some instructions for students, which I think it's important, especially explicit instruction for students, so they now that these tools are not entirely reliable all the time, that if you need it, you can ask an explanation, additional explanation for it, etc. So this should be something which is explicitly given to the students. And very, very quickly here, this is my heuristics for creating an AI prompt for evidence-informed learning experience design. Now, the question is, I'm saying several times about evidence-informed learning design, but what actually means evidence-informed? And I'm referring now to something we did recently. It's extracted from a paper on the relationship on learning design and learning experience, and we applied a systematic literature review with some text analytics using Leximancer to Leximancer. Actually, I think they use artificial intelligence, but they never call it artificial intelligence. They call it machine learning at that time. And as a result, you see, it's like a conceptual map, but one of the most important findings is evidence-informed instructional design. And when you look in details and also elaborate on it, you find this list here. For example, effective learning strategies, distributed practice, retrieval practice, interleaving, etc., which are based on not only meta-analysis, but meta-meta analysis, scoring consistently very high on efficiency. Then multimedia, cognitive work theory, and multimedia learning. The two sigma approach I mentioned. There are a list of several, I call it holistic idea approaches, which I think are quite powerful because they are based on extensive research. The last point is about this generic evaluation criteria like effectiveness, efficiency, and enjoyability. And if I have to put it back now to the discussion of AI tools and some of the evidence in the business, these experimental studies in three particular cases, then I would say I would expect that this AI tool may score high on efficiency. This is the time and efforts you spend. But we need to be a little, careful because the results will be generated very quickly. But the question is that to create a good prompt and to test it, you need some time, and this time should also be included in the calculation. We also believe that it will also increase the effectiveness. So it will be, the outcomes will be better than before. The classic understanding of effectiveness, efficiency, and enjoyability is that we need. If you achieved only one of these three, it's okay. If you achieve two, it's perfect. But it's difficult to achieve all of the three. I think we should expect and believe, first believe and then check it, that with the AI tools, we could actually achieve all these three generic criteria for success. Back to the guide created by ChatGPT for teachers. I pick up one example, which is create a lesson plan for science class on the topic of photosynthesis. And you can very brief, you can see the results, the answer of the GPT. I did the same on the three tools, but I added two of the effective strategies we discussed before: distributed practice and practice testing. And you see, I know that the quality is not very good, and it generated a long list of activities, which is good, but it was difficult for me to show you everything. But if you want, you can just simply pick it, copy it and paste it, this prompt, and check it yourself. So you see the structure. So the objective, materials, introduction, direct instruction, which is good, and then distributed practice, which is this idea is operationalized quite good in different in a number of days, and then practice testing. Also, the last point, which explained the rationale for distributed practice and practice testing. Yeah, so it's BART now. The first things you see that the learning objectives are more elaborated. So I said only one, I said several learning objectives. The structure is almost the same. Practice testing and distributed practice are also there. By the way, BART gives you opportunity, have 3 drafts. So you can also check the 3 drafts of it. And they're different. So what you can do, you just go there, look at it, and take an idea for your lesson plan. And this is Bing. Apparently, as you see in the search, it doesn't include the effective strategies, the 2 effective strategies in the prompt, but only the photosynthesis. So in the answer, in the response, there is not anything about distributed practice and practice testing. But if you ask additionally, specifically for that, it will provide you with some information for this specific learning strategies. Teachermatic is tool which also can generate lesson plans. Similarly, the other more generic tools like Bing, BART, and GPT. But this is, specialized in learning and teaching. And what you can see, the prompt, also the focus, you can put additional things here like an effective learning strategies. Bloom taxonomy is explicitly given here, so you can just tick boxes. I ticked many boxes, so it generated a long list of learning objectives. Apparently, you need to do first a lesson plan for some low-level learning taxonomy, like a knowledge and comprehension, and then go for a higher level of learning taxonomy levels. Yeah, there is also a lesson plan, so you can look at it and you can take an ideas from it. This is another tool which gives you an opportunity to create presentation for the lesson. And you can select from different things, including some learning approaches, learning activities, like I just put it here, personalized feedback and mini projects. I know from my experience that these generic tools are good in, giving a good ideas in a brainstorming, for example, idea generation. So I ask here one of these two, being to create a creative, to suggest the creative ideas for teaching photosynthesis. And yeah, there are some good suggestions. For example, to write a rap song, a poem, or create a comic strip or storyboarding. So it's in the Bing creative mode, you can ask such things, and you can, I think the results are quite good. So if I'm a teacher, for photosynthesis, I might take some of these ideas. I might incorporate it in the classical structure of the lesson. Well, I need to move now. For the initial attention was that we stop here for the break, but I don't know. If you want, we can do, or we can simply go on. But the idea here was we stop it here, and while while this break, you could, if you want, copy and paste this prompt and check how it works in your case. Or if it is too much, you can simply explore these two tools like a Teachermatic.
Okay, thank you, Slavi. I would suggest that you put the text and the two links in the chat, and then if no one is against, we can continue. Maybe only 5 minutes to take a coffee or for other personal needs, and then we will continue.
So you stop here 5 minutes?
Kind of. In between, you please put the text and the links in the chat.
Okay.
And right at 2:15 Central European Time, we will be back. Also, meanwhile, you may prepare your questions and either just turn on your mic or just raise a hand or write them in a chat. No matter when, we will manage with Slavi to answer to your questions, either on the topic or technical or whatever. Okay, see you in 3 minutes already. Flavia, I don't see the text in the chat, also the links. Should I place them there?
I think I did it. Do you
They
see
just
now?
appeared. They just appeared. Okay, thank you. There is a request to you to tell a bit more about yourself, and maybe after the break you can share some I don't know, not a short bio, but some details about your professional life, and just then to continue. Is okay?
Title, you mean?
I mean, there is a request in the chat that you tell them a bit more about yourself, about your professional life, and maybe after the break you can talk a bit about your experience, your interests, etc., about yourself, and just then to continue with the session.
Okay.
Okay, we have 1 minute left. Okay, I suppose you grabbed your coffee or whatever you drink at this time of your time zone. I suggested to Slavik to share a bit more about his experience and his professional interests, and then to continue with the session. So now again, Slavi, the floor is yours.
Yeah, okay. It's not an easy question. I mean, I don't know actually what to tell. I'm Bulgarian. I used to be a teacher in Sofia University. Then I moved to Netherlands, where I follow an international Master of Science program on educational training system design. And there, I also defended my dissertation, which was a combination between creative problem solving and concept mapping, and that time classical concept mapping. In Open University in the Netherlands, I did some research about I consider myself by background instructional designer, by the way, but probably as you know, instructional design moved to learning design and then to learning experience design. So I consider myself specialist in this domain. I also like fusing technologies in design. I'm in the research group called Technology Enhanced Learning Innovation. I myself, for my dissertation, I designed a tool, web-based tool to support people in solving ill-structured problems. And then what else? I consider myself, and I have some international recognition in using group concept mapping research methodology, which I'm going to tell you something later in this presentation, so you'll get a general idea what it is. In Open University, I'm the person who can create projects for group concept mapping, and there I teach educational design, also supervise Master of Science students and PhD students, not only our faculty, but also in different faculties. I'm active in the graduate school of the Open University. In the past, I used to be about 3 years educational secretary of Dutch Research School on Education and Training. responsible for more than 100 PhD students from 11 universities in the Netherlands. So yeah, I think I have I publish regularly, and I am also a reviewer. Not only a reviewer, but also in the editorial board of in the editorial board of educational research and International Journal of Computer Assisted Learning.
Thank you very much, Slavi. I would suggest that you put your ResearchGate or ORCID or whatever you have account in to the presentation below at the end maybe, and whoever is interested to take a look and contact you maybe if they are interested. I would also suggest to answer a question from the chat. Which way of creating a prompt is more appropriate, by explaining all details in one prompt or guide AI creating step by step by prompts?
I think the second one is better, because sometimes if you put everything in one prompt, is one block of text, actually not well. Some of the tool will respond, but some will not, because they think it's too much for them. So you need to make a balance what you want to tell them. And again, this is the question of trying out different versions of your prompt. So sometimes you can give some information and see how this tool will react, but the quality of their outcomes, and then you can improve it, use it again, etc. So you need, this is crucial to try it out and to improve it.
Tanya, are you satisfied with the answer? Yes.
Oh yeah. Of course. Thank you very much, and I'm satisfied by all these experience things, details about your work, Slavi. I would like to call you just Slavi. Really interesting topic, really. And of course, I will allow to show my video, of course, and to say really great thank you. I express my gratitude for this presentation, because there is a very big lack of information about implementation of AI and how this tool, because it is true for me, how to use it in education, especially. Yeah. Thank you really very much. Thank you, Slavi. Thank you.
You're welcome, and happy to help.
Thank you. And since there are no questions for the moment, there is another one just appeared. Could you kindly share your opinion about the impact of language models on the teaching approach? Should the students be encouraged to learn prompting as a skill of future professionals?
No. Not particularly. Prompt is it's important, and it's a way to do the conversation with the tool. So you can use the prompt not only for educational training purposes, but also for other purposes. Yes, I think the best way is to include AI tools explicitly in your work. So if you're a teacher, you can ask students explicitly to use these AI tools for their work. But the question is that they need to reflect on you ask them to reflect on the outcomes, if needed, to critique them, and to write something, I mean, a short piece of text about what they learn while they work with these tools. It helps.
Mm-hmm. Okay, are you satisfied, Edmund? Yes. He thanks to you, and you may continue. Meanwhile, oh, there is another one. What do you think about the paraphrasing tools like Quillbot AI? Would they be helpful to students as well?
Yes. I use myself tools to improve my writing skills. I use Grammarly. One of the tools I suggest, and I mentioned that a list of AI tools, I call it for research. So these tools are really, really very helpful in writing, especially for people like me. Although I have an experience in writing, my writing skills are better than my verbal skills in English. Still, if you compare, giving some piece of text I wrote, and then I ask Grammarly to look at it, and you see a significant improvement. You see it's a really native English. So I think it's the paraphrasing. Specifically, yes, I mean, it's also useful, but personally, I would prefer these tools that look at it, your text, and then suggest improvement. Grammarly first suggests grammatical things, especially, I mean, because I'm Bulgarian, you often make these errors with A and D. And so Grammarly will always check this. But then there is an option, if you highlight it, and there is an option, improve the text. And then if you click it, then you see a real improvement of the text. And it's up to you whether to insert it, to accept it or not. So I think it's very useful for writing.
Thank you, Slavi. Are you satisfied, Tesli?
Yes, indeed. I was also wondering whether the AI generated texts could also be somehow inserted into those tools to produce better text, and to also improvise with text if possible. Would you have any experience like that?
No, one of the tools I'll sharing with you at the end of this presentation, they do actually like that, but I can't now tell you which of them. The best way is to check how these tools works and whether it's helpful for you or not. I excluded, by the way, some of the tools which generated references. For example, AI 7 references. I didn't like it. But there are tools which allows you to upload or to make a search, then select a paper, and then ask particular questions about a specific term, or what are the main conclusions, what is the methods used, and the tool automatically goes and suggests this, sometimes summarizing the main points of the paper. So different things. The question is what actually you need. So it's sometimes the question, personal preference question.
Thank you, Slavi. And another user is asking, how can we quote AI?
Yeah, well, this is what I did in the these reference tools like APA, which I use it. They need it sometimes in order to figure out how to do it. So what do? I go and I ask APIA 7 how I can
Quote it.
Refer to or cite, quote something, and they will suggest it. But in general, if you use API, you put it in the quotes, and then the pages are absolutely necessary there. I mean, when you refer to it in the text, but in the reference there, I think the best way is to ask the standards you use. There must be something there that would advise you how to refer it to these tools.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are you satisfied there is no name next to your here appear like user? Are you satisfied with the answer? Yes. Thanks, Slavi. Maybe we can invite you to our mentoring program to become a mentor. We will be very popular in the mentoring program of your access, but we will talk a bit later on that. Please continue.
Yeah. Now I move to another prompt I created, which ask one of the tools. I pick Bing in this case, but also I tried the other two tools. I tell you why I pick up this later on. So the idea is to describe a set of instructional design guidelines for designing an innovative higher education learning environment. And then the design guidelines should be based on evidence-informed instructional design approaches such as and the cognitive apprenticeship, cognitive flexibility, 4-component instructional design model, which I am closest to it, and problem-based learning. And then I also gave some examples of these guidelines, which are extracted by me as a human, as an expert in this domain. And the tool, Bing, created some suggestions, which are okay, quite general, but it shouldn't be expected more concrete things. If you want more concrete, then you can ask question like, could you please provide some more information about cognitive flexibility, what it means to exposing learners to multiple perspectives, something like that. So we shouldn't forget that it's about conversation. So it's not only one prompt and then you get an idea. Sometimes it works very well, so you get an idea and then you continue, but this is also a conversation. If you you might ask some additional questions that we'll see later on. So the only difference, I change learning design to learning experience design, instructional design. This is the only change I made to see, is there any difference in the outcomes these tools produced, and generally it's almost the same. But again, if you really want to get an ideas, you need just to check these tools, look at it, and yeah, it's okay. But when I ask Bing, I change to the learning design, it says I have already answered this question. So I ask additionally, do you make a difference? Do you make a distinction between the learning experience design and learning design? And then he provided some answers, which at the first glance you might see it's a hallucination, so it make it up. But having experience in this domain, and in the past I asked difficult questions to all these tools about the relationship between the three terms: learning design, instructional design, and learning experience design. I think the reason is the confusion over there in this vast data. They use it to generate their answers, and this data actually generated by humans experts. So I think the confusion is there first, and then why you see it here as answers of this of the tool. Bart didn't want to answer this prompt. It says, I'm just a language model, and I'm not programmed to answer this, to address this prompt. If you ask smaller questions, if you stop, for example, before giving examples, then Bart responds quite well. But too much, it's turned out to be too much for this tool. So that's why in one of the answers, one of the questions here, I think you need to check different things of the prompt, and sometimes it's not a bad thing if you ask one tool all this large prompt, and some other tool you have a short version of it. If you just want to get some ideas, you can use it for your practice. This is again Bing, but a new chat. So if you have a new chat, not a conversational previous chat, Bing respond to the same prompt with the learning design now. So it was perhaps confused between learning design and learning experience design, thinking the same thing. But without part of the conversation, just asking about the learning design, it reacts relatively well. I move now to educational design research. It's intended to address issues in education which are not instructional, or instructional learning nature issues. In education, still there are problems which are not instructional. So this educational design research, which mostly was used for curriculum development, issues can be applied in such occasions. The group of students I'm teaching, they applied this to a problem: how can you integrate Ukrainian refugee children to the Dutch educational system? So it's still an educational problem, but it's not a purely instructional problem. Sometimes it can be, after the analysis, you can find that it's actually instructional problem, and then you can apply a particular instructional design approach or a combination of different instructional design approaches. And we use here different data collection methods. Some of them you are familiar with it. For example, it's well-known: interviews, observations, surveys, and literature review. It can be exploratory literature review. It can be a scoping literature review. It can be a systematic literature review. Yeah, this is a good thing because, yes, as you know, this is one aspect of research triangulation. This is a triangulation of data collection methods. The issues here is that the synthesis of the findings, of the outcomes, having such a big list, apply many data collection methods, the outputs are huge, and the question is how you can actually integrate them. And one way for that in this educational design research, but also learning experience design, by the way, is affinity mapping. Affinity mapping, it's the fancy name of what most of the people actually do with the sticky notes. When you generate ideas and then you group them on a table or on a wall based on some criteria, you can also weight them on some priorities, and etc. It's also known as card sorting, and I use the occasion here to mention something, a misunderstanding, which people think if you apply a qualitative type of method, data collection, actually you need to apply a qualitative data analysis method. It's not necessarily the case. So if you might have the outcomes from qualitative data collection methods, but you can apply both qualitative data analysis, but also some quantitative data analysis methods, like we did for systematic literature review. I mentioned on learning analytics and learning design relationship. So text analytics actually is very much quantitative methods for analyzing the data. And once you have all this information, you can go for the personas. I'll give you an example later of a persona, but now I would like to suggest, if you don't use it, try to use it sometimes to see whether it works in your case or not. In my case, in my experience, it worked quite well. And then you design for these personas, not for all users, which is relatively, I would say, an easy job. One of the methods for data collection and data analysis is group concept mapping. Group concept mapping is a mixed methods, meaning mixed research method, meaning it applies some well-known and used data collection methods like brainstorming, sorting of ideas into thematic groups and rating with some values, but also it applies some quantitative data analysis like a multidimensional scaling and hierarchical cluster analysis, with the goal to aggregate the participants' contribution and show their shared vision on the topic you investigate. One characteristic of group concept mapping, useful characteristic, is that it's capable to synthesize the outputs of all other methods I mentioned: interviews, systematic literature review, observation, and etc. And you could use artificial intelligence here too. Not only, in group concept mapping, of course, you can ask these tools to generate ideas. They're good in this. So apart from extracting statements and ideas from interviews, observation, and systematic literature review, brainstorming of humans, you also can ask these tools to generate ideas on a particular topic. But AI could be used in the general design research process. For example, if you don't know what are these methods, you simply can ask these tools, what are the methods for data collection and data analysis? And they're quite good, by the way, in suggesting list of these methods. Recently, I came across a paper which suggests that coding and identifying themes in a text, the AI tools actually match human performance, which is interesting things, by the way, because normally we code as a human the text, then you aggregate these codes in a more general categories, and still there is this issue of interdependence of the coders, and you don't know that with the codes you cover the whole content domain. So these tools might be useful. And back to group concept mapping, it's useful in this thing too. This is the first outcome of group concept mapping, which is based on multidimensional scaling. So you see all the ideas generated. Some of them are close to each other, meaning that most of the people actually group them together in the row groupings. Also, the relationships here are given by the distances. The closer the ideas to each other, the closer in meaning they are, also meaning they have a close relationship. The next step is to identify a bigger categories, and we use here hierarchical cluster analysis to impose some suggestion on the point map I show you in the previous slide. And these are these thematic categories in this particular case. It also suggests names of these thematic areas. And because we also, apart from asking people to sort statements into groups, we also ask them to rate the statement of some values. Let's say the importance and feasibility, easy, difficult to apply into practice. So this is the technical terms is the pattern match, but it compares clusters on this rating values. And this is another visualization which helps the interpretation of data, which is called Go Zone, because it suggests short and long-term actions. For example, the upper right quadrants, which the green quadrant, suggests short-term actions because these statements, these ideas score higher on both rating values, their importance, but also easy to apply into practice. While in the quadrant below, it's a yellow quadrant, are statements which score high on importance, but relatively low on feasibility. So it's the interpretation here is that it can be used for the long term. Here I would like to give you something, some information for the interface of the tool we use. It's called Group Wisdom. And back to what I said. So you see all these methods for data collection, including AI tools, and it can be extracted and put in this space of the software, which is for idea generation. And later, I will ask the participants to group them into similarity of meaning thematically by simply just drag and drop, and also give name of this and of the group they are making. And this is what most of the people know. This is like a survey, so questionnaire with the rating values. The scale can be anything from 1 to 5, 1 to 7, 1 to 4, 1 to 6 if you want to avoid the middle point for some reasons. And this is the same point map output of the multidimensional scaling I show you before. It's another project, of course. You see the stress index here. Stress index indicates how the extent to which this mathematical model match the raw groupings of people. And it's also indication for the internal validity of the study. This is a benchmark where the tool helps you to decide upon the number of clusters. This is something you need to do it yourself, although it's based on hierarchical cluster analysis, but the tool also suggests which clusters to merge, so you check it every time, but with the help with the tool, you decide upon the right number of clusters. And again, the cluster map and the cluster rating map. The cluster rating map is the same as the cluster map with the rating data upon on it. For example, in this particular case, some of the clusters score low on importance and some of them high on importance because there is more layers on it. And yeah, if you are more interested, you see the pattern match, the goal zone, but also there is a t-test. And as a general rule, you can use all this information from here, the results from here. But this is a tool which actually manage all the activities in one. So data collection, data analysis, and data visualization. But you can also extract the raw data from here and use it in the statistical package you want. Now, this is the personas we designed some years ago on the topic about the future of learning in Europe. So at that time, we used the results from the group concept mapping to design these personas. It can be one cluster for one persona, or you can combine different clusters to create personas, and you can also use the rating data, not only the sorting data. It not necessarily be a cartoon-like as here. It can be just a detailed description of a typical user of the service or a product, people who share common goals and behavior patterns. This is a synthesis of the information from different people who share information, common goals, and behavior patterns.
May I interrupt you here, Slavi, for a second? Yeah. There is a question in the chat from New Turk. By which software you are making this analysis?
Yeah, I certainly call it mentioned very quickly. It's a group wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Nurturk, is it okay for you? Would you react somehow? Just turn on your mic or say that you're satisfied. Or... Okay, he thanks you, and please continue.
Yeah, can I add something to
yeah, of course.
This answer? If you, this is a commercial tool, and we have in Open University the annual license, and I'm the person who manages it. But if you don't have this tool, you can't compensate. You can use Optimal Workshop. Optimal Workshop does similar thing. So he applies multidimensional scaling, only hierarchical cluster analysis. But it's a quantitative tool which applies the quantitative type of analysis. But in the beginning, when I didn't have this tool, still in the University of Twente as a PhD student, I did it manually. So the main point here is to make your similarity matrix. Once you make this similarity matrix, which is a time-consuming task, then you can use any statistical package, which if you use, for example, SPSS, multidimensional scaling and hierarchical cluster analysis is something which is common there. So with this database, you go there and it will provide similar analysis and say similar, but I think it could be useful. I also know that R statistical package has libraries which is very much related to this particular method's group concept map. Yeah, these are the tools for research I mentioned. I don't know. I mean, when you have a presentation, probably it's you can get it easily rather than now trying to make a picture or make notes. I didn't categorize them, although illicit, Grammarly, Quibox, and Trinker are writing things. Site, semantic score, lead maps are good for searching and especially for systematic literature research. I particularly like site and semantic scores, lead maps too, because of the representation there, which is in the type of conceptual map. But again, this is something which is personal. The best way is to check yourself. Just take this one. If you write just, the name Grammarly or Quibox or Semantic Scholar, you'll get immediately you go directly to the website, and then you can check it and see whether it works for you or not. Shall I wait for a while here, or just assuming that having the PowerPoint presentation, we will be able to get this information directly from there?
Definitely, not only the presentation, but also the video. So please continue.
Yeah, well, some concluding, this the last points, this is the AI tools, artificial intelligence is disruptive technologies, but as any disruptive technology, it's a threat, but at the same time, opportunity for reconsidering or rethink how we define learning and assessment. And this is what I would say, it's my personal manifest for creating AI enhanced prompts. So I stop here. This is the last slide, and I'm waiting for questions, comments, or whatever, critiques.
Thank you very much, Slavi. Those of you, there is one, wait a second. From Mariana, I'm interested in a tool that can search in foreign language paper basis in Chinese, Japanese by keywords or instruction in English. Is it possible?
I don't know. I don't have such an information, but perhaps some of these two I mentioned, I didn't go in details in all of them. There is such a thing, but I don't know. Normally, I just make this search, and you can make the question you ask me. you can ask the tools, these tools, search engine tools, whether you can do such a thing.
Okay, thank you. Good idea. I don't see anything in the chat, but since the presentation is another one. Does any of the grant LLMs offer source traceability?
You mean whether, I'm not sure I understand the question, but you mean whether this chat GPT, Bing, and Bart are open?
I am not sure. Edmund, please switch on your mic and talk.
Yes, hello. What I was intrigued to know is whether any of these language models provide the opportunity to see where they where they source their information for replying to the prompt. Basically, is there any case of possibility to see their main sources of information?
Yeah. I mean, some of them are search engines, Bing and Bard. So they would include some search, some information from the search. If you're not satisfied with it, you can ask additional questions specifically for that. And normally they will provide such an information because they are search engines. ChatGPT is good in answering questions, but it's not a search engine. But there is an option, which is there are plugins. For example, I use one of these plugins, which is called Scholar AI, which is research to and the ChatGPT, depending on the question, it refer to this third-party tools, plugins like this one, asking for more information. I did it, and it provides quite good. It's about 40 million research papers. So if you ask specifically, we'll provide you some information on it, which is quite elaborative, by the way, because it shows not only the source of information, but also a possibility to download a PDF file from there.
Thank you very
much.
much, Slavi. Wait a second. Edmund, did Slavi satisfy your interest?
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Here we have Slavi twice at least I saw it request to include your contacts like email, like as I said, link to your profile in professional networks for further contacts and for further discussions with you. Maybe some of the participants do have a more how to say extended questions to you. So would you please add to your last slide or separately, maybe I can post it on the website or in the mentoring group on LinkedIn, your contacts in order to colleagues to be in contact with you.
Yeah, the best way is by email. If you slavi.stoyanov@ou.nl, and I'll respond to the email immediately. But I'll provide this information later on.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And since we are 3 minutes late, it took us almost the same time at the beginning to wait for the participants to join. So thanks once again for all you have done for us today, and we really would like to extend our invitation not only to this webinar, Slavi, but also to discuss with you your possible or any other colleagues of yours in Open University to join our mentoring program at your access. And we will be really happy if you have a LinkedIn account to see you as a member of our LinkedIn group of the mentoring program, where you can answer some of the later questions, or even start the discussions with some of your of the participants today. They are all thanking you, already can see in the chat, because your presentation is closed. So we end with a great thank you to you, and to all of the participants that joined today. And for everyone else, the materials will be available soon. Thank you a lot.